So let me give you a little background about the painting, okay? In the first half of the 19th century, which is the 1800s, many settlers moved from farms and towns on the eastern seaboard to seek their livelihoods in the mountains and on the western frontier. One such family was the Samuel Wileys, who settled in Crawford Notch in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Their reason for choosing this location may have been that the Notch, one of three deep valleys in the area, was an important route through the mountains and had a turnpike by 1804. The Wileys met a terrible fate in an avalanche. The tragic events were recorded in numerous short stories, poems, and paintings. The tale became a popular one for the American people because the young nation had a short history and few stories of its own. The avalanche occurred on August 29, 1826. An unusually hot and dry summer made the slopes of the Notch susceptible to slides. A sudden downpour broke loose a stream of rocks and debris that descended 2,000 feet toward the Wiley house. The family, hearing the noise, fled their home looking for a safer haven. Unfortunately, they ran directly into that avalanche, the avalanche that ironically missed the house completely. Thomas Cole, America's leading landscape painter during the first half of the 19th century, had been to the Notch several times. He emigrated from England with his family in 1801 and eventually settled in Catskill, New York, a small village on the west side of the Hudson River and close to the Catskill Mountains. Scenery from across the Northeast provided inspiration for many of his paintings. In 1828, he traveled to Crawford Notch and wrote in his diary, "We now entered the Notch and felt awestruck as we passed between the barren rifted mountains. The sight of the Wiley house, standing with a little patch of green in the midst of the dread wilderness of desolation, called to mind the horrors of that night, when these mountains were deluged and rocks and trees were hurled from their high places down the steep channeled sides of the mountain." Cole did not show the actual disaster or the Wiley house instead. Instead, he painted the scene as he found it. Cole did include the bare areas on Mount Webster, where the landslide started, as well as the well-known Notch House, an inn built on the site 2 years after the tragedy. Rather than concentrating on the human drama, the artist painted a vast landscape to underscore humankind's insignificance and vulnerability in the face of nature. Only the storm clouds looming over the mountain hint of something sinister.